Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a viewer spotlight, and today I have this Conway game for you, the tier 9 turreted British tank destroyer. This is DCRMoose. He is platooned up with Major Sledgehammer, who is in the T-54, and they're playing on the NA server. You might have noticed there's a fair few KV-5s per team. Well, this was during the KV-5 rental event, so if you fulfilled certain mission requirements, you basically got to have a KV-5 for a limited period, and as you can see, a fair few people did. So this is what, 10 KV-5s in this game? 11? So there are going to be lots of kind of lower pen guns, and that's going to be good for a Major Sledgehammer in his T-54. But for DCRMoose here, well, it doesn't really matter because this thing is pretty squashy. It basically shares the same gun as the Torty, and although it has less good DPM, it has all-round less good gun handling, it's still not bad on either account. And what you get in return for losing the excellent gun handling and DPM of the Torty is a turret and better mobility. So it seems like a fair trade. This actually seems like a decent machine. I've yet to see anybody really say anything particularly complimentary about the tier 10, the FV4005, but this one seems like a pretty, like even if you grind up this line only for the tier 9, it does still seem like a decent machine to go for. So he popped out and, well, he's trying to use this position to basically fire and pull back quickly, and he's already taken one hit from the Waffle Panzer IV, but we can see from the minimap that the Waffle Panzer has moved, so although that was a big chunk of his health, that was over a third of his health in one hit. If he's careful, he can avoid that again, but he really will have to be careful, because like I said, this thing is squashy. The entire turreted British tank line is very, very thinly armoured. In fact, even the Achilles, which in theory has the same armour as the M10 Wolverine, actually has, I think, less good armour than the M10, that's a number, the M10 Wolverine, only a tier higher. So if you haven't gotten used to the squashy nature of these things by the time you get to tier 9, well, yeah, it's not going to go very well for you. So Major Sledgehammer has pushed up a bit. They are a bit outnumbered on this side, but I mean, they're top tier. This is very good matchmaking. And although Himmelsdorf is not ideal for a machine of this particular nature, the fact that he's got a platoon mate that he can trust in a T-54, well, he can support him rather nicely, and he can use his DPM rather nicely. So they are actually able to advance here because although, like I said, they're outnumbered, their opposition is being very, very passive. We can see on the minimap there's also the main threat they might have to worry about. The E75 is on the Banana Street and is doing very bad things to the KV-5s that are trying to defend. They've also lost their other tier 9, the E50, already, and he didn't have a particularly good result at the end of this, so it really is. I mean, they're going to have to, although it's good matchmaking, it looks like they're going to have to work hard because their teammates are dying rapidly, and this Type 59 on the hill is about to die as well. There we go. Although this does afford DCRMoose some good opportunities to put this rate of fire to work. So although it is a lower DPM, like I said, than the Torty, it is still a very good DPM on a tier 9 machine, and it's got a punchy enough gun, I said the dreaded word there, that although 400 damage per shot isn't that much compared to, say, what you get with the Russians or the Americans, it is, with the rate of fire, with the accuracy, with the handling, and with the turret, it's a pretty nice combination overall. So the KV-5 that came down to help them is has died, unfortunately. Major Sledgehammer went right round that corner and just went in against multiple enemies there, and we're actually going to see his point of view for that particular bit of engagement in just a second. So there we go. So we're skipping back slightly. This is sort of 2 minutes in the past now. This KV-13, by the way, the entire time he's fighting Major Sledgehammer, he fires HE. Although, to be fair to him, this is a terrible engagement for a KV-13 to be directly facing a T-54. Now, the reticle was a little bit derpy for Major Sledgehammer's replay. I'm not quite sure why. And still is KV-13 firing the HE. I don't know. Maybe he had no premium ammo. Maybe he couldn't afford premium ammo. Maybe he just didn't know what weak spots to go for on a T-54. I don't know. But either way, he's not really proving to be a threat. However, the Waffle has taken note of his presence, because obviously he managed to land in a shot himself, and this KV-4 just charges right around the corner, so okay. KV-5 rather. And this friendly KV-5 is actually making things slightly awkward because, of course, it's a big tank. And Major Sledgehammer is having to maneuver around him the entire time. So, he goes for the Waffle 4 and does take a hit from the guy again in the process, but he had the bigger gun. He was unquestionably the bigger threat. That just leaves now the KV-13 and the KV-5. The Allied KV-5 has gone down, the KV-13 is one hit away from dying, and this KV-5, well, it depends what ammo is firing, and it's APCR. And I have to say, this is one of those times when all premium ammo is not equal. The Prem ammo on the T-54, for example, has ridiculously high pen compared to its regular ammo. On the KV-5, that's not really the case. On the KV-5, I think you get just over 200 pen with your Prem ammo. So, if you're spamming Prem ammo in your KV-5, you're only just coming up to the kind of regular pen of most tier 8 heavies. In fact, you still have less pen than most tier 8 heavies. So if you see someone spamming Prem in a KV-5, it's definitely less objectionable than if they're doing so in a D-54. So we're back now in the present, as it were. The other side is gone, collapsed completely. This is the last 4 remaining tanks versus 3 KV-5s. I almost said 4 KV-5s there, but that wouldn't have been right. 3 KV-5s, an IS-8, and an E-75. There's also that IS that's up on the hill as well that DCRMoose was shooting at earlier. So that guy was very, very low health, and a nice shot from DCRMoose there, so that's another kill. It was a little bit of a risky shot, though. He might have put one into the back of the T-25-2's turret instead. And this T-25-2 actually doesn't do that much damage, but he's still going to be 3rd place because he's doing damage against higher tiers. And so manages a better score than pretty much the rest of the team. And when I say he hasn't done that much damage, it's still a reasonable amount of damage compared to the rest of his team. But compared to the amount of damage that DCRMoose is racking up here, it really doesn't compare that much. And he's actually just now under 5,000 damage. And he's also going to run out of AP shells fairly soon. Now, I will say, I think he's packing rather a lot of APCR, more than he needs, because this gun has... it's the British 120mm gun. I mean, the Conqueror gets it as well, and I think the Tier 10 also uses it. It has nearly 260 pen. And I don't think... there's relatively few targets where you're going to need more than that. And so this is going to potentially be an expensive battle because he's racked up now almost 6,000 damage, but he's about to run out of AP, so the rest of his shells are going to have to be APCR. Now that wasn't a particularly well aimed shot. That was actually the thickest armour frontally that the KV-5 has, the front of the hull. And he aims his next one a bit better into the radiomen binnacle. But they've basically taken out the biggest remaining threats. And Major Sledgehammer was also engaging one of the KV-5s and was taking pot shots, was on the receiving end of pot shots from the hill, from the IS. So they came at this from 2 directions, and it worked out rather nicely. So there we go, 6,800 damage, nearly 6,900 damage. And 5 kills. Could this be a Pools medal? Not a Pools medal, wow. Top Gun. Top Gun, Pools medal, same thing. But no, RNG bilks him out of that shot, unfortunately, so the IS gets away on very, very low health. Now they've defended the cap, and it is just this IS left. It's just this one lone tank who really isn't particularly a threat. So we're going to speed the replay up at this point, because you'd think having most of each team died in about 4.5 minutes, and then the next kind of bit of the game took an additional, I don't even know how many minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, and then they had to hunt this guy down. Yes, this guy wanted to live, and the IS, well, it's a heavy tank, but it's not a particularly slow heavy tank, and this isn't a particularly fast tank destroyer. It's faster than the Torty, but although it's the Centurion chassis, it's not quite as fast as the Centurion. It actually only trundles along at 35. Now, Major Sledgehammer could have killed this IS at several points, but he holds back deliberately so that DCRMoose is in with a chance of getting that top gun And, oh, there he is. Now, the IS actually did a pretty good job of sneaking away, but in the end, it was all for naught. So there we go, 6 kills, and a pretty hard carry, I would say. So that was an ace mastery. Brothers in Arms, because Major Sledgehammer got, I think, 4 kills? Was it 3 kills? I'm not sure. Top Gun and High Caliber, and a Defender, because he had 100 defense points exactly. Easily top of the team, nearly 1600 base XP, 4 kills for Major Sledgehammer, there we go. So 10 kills between them, over 10,000 damage between them, and it was required, because you can see the rest of the team was not that impressive. 1200 base XP on Major Sledgehammer as well, so he also had a pretty good result. And despite having to fire a bunch of APCR, DCRMoose actually walked away with still fairly reasonable profit, but his ammo costs were quite high. 46,000 in ammo costs, and to be fair, the regular ammo isn't that cheap either, but if he'd had a few more rounds of AP, he probably could have walked away with a slightly bigger profit. But all in all, I think, despite the fact that I mean, it was very, very favourable matchmaking, but despite the fact that they were on Himmelsdorf, which was definitely unfavourable for a squashy tank destroyer, he was able to, with his platoon mates, really, really be quite effective and walk away with a very respectable damage count indeed. So if you enjoyed this particular replay, you can leave any comments below, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.